Test mic. Test mic. 1, 2, 3. Test mic 1, 2, 3. Are we live? Okay. Let me check my stream first. Okay. So, you know, skin tone, building skin tone is really hard for beginners, and I also experienced that when I started painting like a year or so, but then my goal was to paint classical. So once I did that, once I researched about that, there was not much information available until I started painting, actually just experimenting. So I want to share how you can use not the classical way of painting, but using that information for direct painting. So if you want to paint skin, my recommended palette would be raw umber, red ochre. So we have raw umber here, right? Raw umber. You can use red ochre, Venetian red, or you can also use the vermilions and all of that stuff, right? So you just need a red. Here I use the red ochre here. Yellow ochre, ultramarine blue, white, and maybe some black. Okay, so but you don't really need black, because you can mix your black by using the red, using our raw umber here. Yeah, you can use raw umber mixed with blue to get your black. Okay, these are different colors here. These are just, so this is my red ochre here. So my red ochre is when you add white to it, it becomes pink, but it's not like a highly saturated pink. So it becomes like a desaturated pink, which is, much more natural looking. So I use that instead of the vermilions. The vermilions, I'm gonna use it later, as a final glazing layer. Okay, so what you're gonna do is you have your raw umber here, right? So you mix raw umber with blue, 50-50, or more blues, depending, to get this black. This black is like, it has a slight yellow to it, but it's neutral. It's almost neutral when you turn it into gray. Okay, so this is going to be used for cold areas in the face, like here, the areas here, right? In the mouth areas and beards. So this is going to be good for that. Now this is just the raw umber here, pure raw umber here. So I just mixed white to it to make it this color, and so we can use it directly in direct painting, not indirectly but directly, like you just paint it opaque. Okay, and this one is raw umber with yellow ochre, more raw umber here. So it turns into this kind of, we kind of bringing the raw umber now to the light, right? So you're bringing it to the light by adding yellow ochre to it. And this is the maximum value where we have raw umber here. This has more yellow ochre than raw umber, so it becomes this like cream color. Yeah, has that cream quality to it. And when you look at people on videos and stuff, try to notice their faces, like especially women. Then just in your mind, subtract the red areas from their faces, like in the forehead, usually in the cheeks, especially for white people. And you're gonna see this color, kind of creamy color, like a cream or a yellowish color. And that's what we get here. This is basically your skin color here. That's the dead color. So it's not when a person dies, their skin, the blood kinda, especially when you remove the blood, their skin kinda becomes yellowish greenish kind of color. So in a way, we are subtracting the reds first from our portraits. If we subtract the red from our minds, we get this yellowish color. Now it depends on the race, but for light colored skin, usually we have this, right? For darker skin, I need to go into that deeper, because it's a different form of art, I think, and it requires a different perspective, like a different way of seeing the skin. But for now, I think it's more likely we focus more on the reflection, the reflected light, more so than the skin color. So anyway, back to lighter skin color. You can either move from more yellow, right, in the skins of people, to more blue. Because I saw this a YouTuber last night. She was a girl, and in that context of her video, she had more blues to her skin, especially in the neck part, where there's not much blood really over here, right? The blood is mostly where here, and for females, like in the chest area, there's not much blood in there, unless it depends on the context. So mostly I just look for places in the face, like a general understanding of the color, and then just remove the red from them, from the face, from the what I see. So when you remove it, you kind of get a yellowish feel, and sometimes they have a bluish feel. So just mix it accordingly, knowing the simple three colors: your blues, your raw umber, and your yellow ochre. Stick to that, and then when you go into the reds, like on the corners here, right, start adding your red ochre to it. Like here, in my case, I use this raw umber section, and then just mix the red ochre there, and then add white. So if I wanted like a lighter pink here, like here in this area here, yeah, I could just use that. So in a way, this simplifies everything. Like, we need to start somewhere simple, right? Somewhere we can understand. And for me, the easiest way to do that is not to break down the image like per section, like, okay, this one is bluer here, right, and have that complicated 3 or 4 color combination in the face, and think about it right away, right now, and paint it right now. Okay, so as a beginner, it's best to just strip off everything. Either start with one color and just more values, to focus on the values, or 2 colors, three colors, two colors actually, and just focus on the values. So in this case, this is like if you want alla prima, of course you're gonna need white. Alla prima or direct painting. Alla prima just means like one sitting, right? So let's say direct painting. So just focus on raw umber, yellow ochre, white first. Okay, don't add the reds first. You just focus on the values, just painting all of this, right? Just use those combinations, and maybe add blue if you want to paint the darker areas. But you can skip that and just layer that on later after the entire image is dried. But if you want to do direct painting, then you can just mix them as you go along. Like you start with when you look at the light planes that are struck by light, not the reflected light, just the area around the reflected light. But this one, for example, her nose here, this point is a reflected light, right? So around it, that's your like base tone, they call it, right? So that's your plane that is in the light, so almost like directly hit by the light, but you're not seeing the reflected light, right? So with that, just use your like raw umber plus white, or you can use raw umber plus yellow ochre plus white, and then just color it, right? So we kind of know that. So when we start turning to the midtones, right? Because in the lighted area, we start turning to the midtones, right? This is like where the color really is. So at that point, we know that at that point there's more reds in that area. So since we're not gonna paint red yet, if we're doing like the layered approach, like we can use layered approach even if we don't use the glazing method, right? So you can skip the reds in this point. Just use the light areas, so you're gonna have like two colors, right? So just skip the reds first, and just maybe you can darken it a little bit if you're distracted by the reflected light. But if you don't draw the reflected light, then it's okay to just draw everything in one color. Now as we turn to the shadow, we're gonna lose like almost we start losing a value there a lot. Like we're gonna dip to almost it depends on the light intensity of the environment and stuff. But as you turn there, then you add more of your like raw umber, right? So we turn to here now, to the midtones, right? But for me, in this case, this area is really light, right? Because there's a lot of reflected light from the environment. This is not 2 or 3 light setup. This is actually like the entire environment is lit up. So this was in a mall, taken in a mall. So everything was lit up. So all we have now is like this angle from the flash, this shadow from the flash. It's gonna be like so super midtones, but still we can achieve like of course we're gonna see values turning, right? So in this case, I'm using the midtone as the shadow tone, so we see the reds, right? So in your case, like we could use this area here, the shadow area, right? So in this shadow area, we can have raw umber. Just paint the raw umber on it with white. You can add the reds already at this stage. This is raw umber with white. Just enough to make it like a value 5 or value 6. Yeah, but in this case, this is more like a value, a value 6. Yeah, value 6 is like past the mid-tone color, right? So without further diluting the message, as a tip, people say that there's no absolute color, right? You can draw skin by, because they're thinking about the color of the light. But if we say we're just having a normal daylight, fluorescent, the usual thing that we have, of course there's a color, right? Because when that color in the fluorescent light, you put it in a green light or in a red light room, all of that's gonna change, right? If you're in a swamp or in a forest, or when there's a lot of trees around you, those colors are gonna change because of the environment light that's hitting your face. But in a studio environment, in indoor or outdoor, just plain places, not much other lights shining on the face, we can actually tell that there's a color there, right? So by starting there, the raw umber, yellow ochre, blue, white, and then using red ochres, you can actually create a good skin. So the reds is for the areas with blood, and if there's more blue, this would be in the areas where there's no blood, absolutely no blood. But the raw umber itself, when you put it beside red, it's gonna turn into a gray in your perception. It's gonna look cooler, meaning it's gonna look like something that there's no blood in it. So I wish you good luck on your portrait painting. And again, raw umber, ultramarine blue, yellow ochre, red ochre, and white. So just try it. First, try just painting the values using your raw umber plus white, and then in the darkest areas, just add a little bit more blue. And for hair and stuff, just add like for dark hair, you're gonna use either more blues or more reds. It depends on it. For dark hair, I add like red. Don't use pure black on hair, because it's gonna look cartoony. Because in reality, the dark hair that we see are actually like either in reality there's more yellows to it, more reds to it. It's just that we don't see it because it's not reflected. We're just seeing the shadows mostly. But when you hold it up in the light, like a strong light, you can see the actual color of the hair. So most often there's reds there, like purplish color. So anyway, for skin, talking about skin right now, just use the raw umber, yellow ochre, red ochre, white, and ultramarine blue. So that's gonna help you establish it. So start with without the reds first, focus on the values, and then add the red later, either as a glaze. I think a glaze would be nice, but if you don't want that, you can just mix the right values later, then just add it on. So mostly the reds are here in the nose, here, right, the nose area, here in the cheeks, of course the lips, and then the upper eyelid here, from here, right, in the eyes, somewhere here maybe, and a little bit here, but not too much. Okay, so that's it for me for now, and good luck, and I'll see you guys next time.